Chapter 61. Yet, what was unbelievable was that Qiye, was merely a 13 or 14-year-old youth. The current Qiye, with his display of precise understanding, made Li Swangnan doubt, was this truly the first time Qiye was cultivating the Tao? Even taking a step back, supposing this wasn't Qiye's first time cultivating the Tao. How could a 13 or 14-year-old youth possess such profound accumulation of knowledge? The last person to come forward for the check was Zhang Trangge. As Zhang Yu stepped up, he couldn't help but rub his hands together, his voice very low as he said, "Senior brother, do I have problems with my cultivation?" Zhang Yu had joined the sect longer than Luo Fenghua ***, Lak Fenghua, and the others. It could even be said that he was one of the longest enrolled disciples. He was older, yet for some unknown reason, his cultivation foundation had been at the very bottom for the past few years. It wasn't that Zhang Yu didn't work hard, on the contrary, he was one of the most diligent and hard-working disciples. Nevertheless, his cultivation remained perpetually at the bottom. Zhang Yu was naturally a man of few words, and as his cultivation barely progressed, he became even more solitary and quiet. Among the disciples of the cleansing Jade Valley, he was considered untalented. Even Hallmaster Zhou, Chu, thought so, which is why Hallmaster Zhou gave up on teaching him, ignoring his cultivation and leaving him to his own devices. When Zhang Yu manifested his longevity wheel, Tho Luan, Fated Palace, Men Kung, and Physique, the Chat, to reveal his Tao foundation to Qiye, his longevity wheel appeared. Faint, his fated palace was unstable, and only his physique faintly rumbled with the sound of a bellowing ox. Qiye inspected Zhang Yu's situation, and couldn't help but be slightly moved. He looked at Zhang Yu and asked, "Why are you cultivating the Watermarsh longevity law, Tui Trak Tho Fap? Did you choose this longevity wheel method?" Zhang Yu scratched his head and replied, I. Hallmaster Zhou said that I have an acquired physique, Hao Thien the Chat, a water ox physique, Tween Guchida, so he chose the Watermarsh longevity law for me, so I could maximize my water-attributed blood energy. Ignorant. Qiye scoffed, saying, misguiding the student. An acquired physique is correct, but it's not the water ox physique. You possess the chaos ox physique, Han Dan Gutha. Acquired physiques are unlike innate physiques, Tien Thien the Chat, or mortal physiques, Famtha, that can advance towards king, saint, or immortal physiques. However, this doesn't mean acquired physiques are weak. Acquired physiques have their own cultivation and evolution process. A typical acquired water ox physique can evolve into the strongest Kuelong ox physique, Queen Gu the Chat, through powerful physique techniques. When the Kuelong ox physique is cultivated to its peak, even saint physiques would pale in comparison. Chaos ox physique. Is there such a physique? Zhang Yu was stunned, he had never heard of such a physique. Of course there is, Qiye said. Indifferently, your physique is exactly that. In reality, the Chaos Ox physique is extremely rare, and has a multitude of uses. Qiye glanced at him and said, "You are cultivating the wrong longevity law. If you continue, your progress will stop halfway." Then, what should I do? Zhang Yu's face turned pale with fright. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. Qiye said, "Overturn everything and cultivate the Jade Conch Heart method, Bichloa Tom Fap. This heart method is upright and moderate, the most basic foundational method. It takes care of the fated palace, longevity law, and physique technique. This is the method most suitable for you. But the assessment is coming in less than a year." Zhang Yu jumped in alarm, speaking urgently. Qiye looked at him and said coolly, "Is the assessment important, or is your future path important? Even if you don't pass the assessment, you can try again later. But if you wait 10 more years, wanting to overturn your Tao foundation and recultivate, I'm afraid you will have missed the best age. Think about it carefully. At this moment, many disciples looked at Zhang Yu sympathetically. 5 years of arduous cultivation, now to overturn and recultivate, this was something anyone would find hard to accept. In doing so, 5 years of effort would be completely wasted. Most people wouldn't want to discard everything and start over. If they missed this assessment, they would have to wait another 5 years, which is not something everyone is willing to wait for. Zhang Yu's face alternated between white and green. He understood the stakes involved. 5 years of hard work, suddenly destroyed, meaning those 5 years of practice were in vain. If you can't make a decision immediately, go back and ponder it slowly. When you've thought it through, come back to me. Qiye didn't force him. One's own path must ultimately be walked by oneself. If one lacks even this kind of resolve, the talk of forging a steadfast Tao heart is merely empty words. I will destroy it. I will cultivate the Jade Conch Heart method. No sooner had Qiye finished speaking than Zhang Yu gritted his teeth, made up his mind, and spoke with a resolute attitude. Qiye simply nodded, saying nothing more, and then spoke to Li Xuangan beside him, break his Tao foundation. Start him over. Today, Li Xuangan didn't hesitate for a moment regarding Qiye's commands and immediately carried them out. Finally, Qiye finished checking the Tao foundations of all the disciples. It could be said that the vast majority of disciples had no major issues with their cultivation foundation. The most severe case, the biggest problem, was Zhang Yu's situation. Qiye's own cultivation, and the yin-yang blood sea. Having inspected the Tao foundations of the disciples, everything had entered the right track. Qiye began to let go. With confirmed Tao foundations, clear Tao meanings, and correct techniques, the rest was up to each disciple's self-cultivation. With this step accomplished, Qiye had guided the disciples of the cleansing Jade Valley onto the path of cultivation. He would no longer support each one individually, letting the disciples of the cleansing Jade Valley cultivate the Tao on their own, only occasionally taking time to lecture and impart the Tao to his disciples. Having gone through countless years, and even having nurtured immortal emperors, Qiye knew better than anyone that no matter how peerless a disciple's talent, if he did not let go and supported them all the way, such a disciple would ultimately fail to grow, and would never be able to shoulder responsibility on their own. Without experiencing the storm, how can one see the rainbow? After letting go, Qiye began to focus his energy on his own cultivation. In fact, in order to teach the disciples of the cleansing Jade Valley to cultivate the Tao, Qiye had greatly slowed down his own cultivation speed. The current Qiye was already in the nourishing body Yu in the realm, strengthening blood, Trang Huyet stage. Moreover, he had already achieved great perfection in the strengthening blood stage, and was stepping towards the body tempering Tuatha stage. Now was the perfect time for Qiye to temper his body anew. At this moment, Qiye took out an ancient box. If Li Xuangan were present, she might recognize this ancient box. It was the one Qiye had taken from the Saint Cave of the Nine Saint Demon Gate, Qutan Yuman. In reality, the elders of the Nine Saint Demon Gate, and even the Sun Wheel Demon Monarch Luan Not Yuhong, did not know what was inside this ancient box. Sunwheel Demon Monarch was probably also curious as to why Qiye did not choose the immortal emperor treasure, but instead chose this unknown ancient box. What exactly was inside this ancient box? In principle, when a disciple reaches the nourishing body realm, strengthening blood stage, the sect would reward them with a longevity treasure, though Bao. However, the cleansing incense ancient sect was currently in decline, and had limited inventory. If they were to award longevity treasures even to disciples who hadn't formally entered the sect, the inventory of the cleansing incense ancient sect would likely not be able to withstand it. The main function of the longevity treasure is to prolong life and nourish the blood. Longevity treasures and fate artifacts, men kai, are the two great treasures of a cultivator. The vast majority of cultivators possess both longevity treasures and fate artifacts. Fate artifacts, whether they are precious artifacts, bao kai, or true artifacts, chan kai, are primarily used for protection and attacking the enemy. In most situations, fate artifacts are only used on the battlefield. Longevity treasures are different, they are needed at all times. A longevity treasure can extend a cultivator's lifespan. Simultaneously, it can strengthen a cultivator's vital energy, and even refine a cultivator's longevity blood, though Qiye. Longevity treasures can also play a huge role in life and death combat. When blood energy and longevity blood are depleted during battle, one can activate the longevity treasure to quickly replenish the lost blood energy or to burst forth with one's own vital energy. Increasing combat power. Qiye opened the ancient box. Inside, two blood pearl-like objects lay quietly. The 2 drops of blood pearl looked unremarkable, like 2 drops of fresh blood condensed together. However, upon closer inspection, one would find that the 2 drops of blood pearl seemed to contain infinite blood energy, as if they were 2 immensely vast blood seas. Moreover, upon even closer inspection, the 2 blood pearls were different. One blood pearl seemed to have a slowly rising golden sun, Kim, while the other blood pearl seemed to have a continuously floating divine moon, then Noyet. *** yin yang blood sea *** am dum Huyet high. Holding the 2 seemingly ordinary blood pearls in his palm, Qiye let out a soft sigh, the bloody battle of that year feeling as if it were yesterday. That year, immortal Emperor Min Ren, Min Nan Tienda, had accomplished the great Tao, shouldering the heavens will Thien Men. With countless divine generals beneath him, he swept across the 9 heavens and 10 lands, unstoppable. The first battlefield immortal Emperor Min Ren chose after shouldering the heavens will and achieving immortal emperor status was a burial ground, Tongjia, of eternal, great savagery. At that time, as the Dark Crow, Am Na, his state had already begun to become unstable. Nevertheless, he still hoped to witness Min Ren's debut battle. For any immortal emperor, the first battle is very important, it is an opportunity to temper the heavens' will. Qiye chose an eternally savage burial ground for immortal Emperor Min Ren. Although Qiye did not personally lead the army at the time, he still witnessed a battle that shook the heavens and earth, extinguishing the light of the sun and moon. That battle of the year shattered the star dome, and annihilated 10,000 domains. Finally, immortal Emperor Min Ren charged ahead alone, plunging into the deepest part of the burial ground. One of the harvests from plunging into the deepest part of the burial ground that year was this ancient box before him. At that time, Qiye was close to falling into a deep slumber. Based on his personal wishes, he hoped immortal Emperor Min Ren would refine the yin yang blood sea into his own immortal emperor longevity treasure. However, immortal Emperor Min Ren, having accepted the heaven's will, had absolute confidence in himself. His own longevity treasure was already wondrous enough to shock all eternity. So he was unwilling to waste this treasure. In the end, he bestowed this treasure upon the 9 Saint Great Sage, Qiye Tondai Hien, who contributed the most to that battle as a reward. Later, Qiye fell into a deep slumber and no longer inquired about this matter. He thought the 9 Saint Great Sage had refined the yin-yang blood sea into his own longevity treasure. It wasn't until he opened the Saint Cave that he realized the 9 Saint Great Sage had never used this treasure. When he opened the Saint Cave, Qiye also understood that the priceless item the 9 Saint Great Sage had once spoken of leaving behind, when he intended to entrust the 9 Saint Demon Gate to him, was none other than the yin-yang blood sea. Boom, the moment Qiye dropped the 2 drops of yin-yang blood sea into his longevity wheel, Qiye's entire body was shaken. In that instant, it was as if 2 massive blood seas enveloped his longevity wheel. Instantly, his longevity wheel glowed with red blood light, soaking his entire body. The vital energy surging from the blood sea was too powerful. In an instant, Qiye's longevity wheel showed signs of shattering, his fated palace suddenly became unstable, and even his physical body was impacted. The infinite vital energy surged forward, threatening to destroy Qiye's physical body. Asterisk boom. Boom. Boom, asterisk in this instant, the moon gourd yangwil technique, Noyet Quadyung Wan Song, with its powerful stance, pulled the surging vital energy from the two blood seas, doing its utmost to guide the vital energy surging from the blood seas into the longevity wheel. If it were other longevity laws, they would fundamentally be unable to handle this kind of vital energy. It would be like a small horse pulling a big cart, utterly unable to budget. However, the moon gourd yangwil technique is that heaven-defying. The stronger the blood energy, the more powerful and strong it becomes. In an instant, the moon gourd yangwil technique frantically circulated the blood energy, stuffing a large amount of vital energy into the longevity wheel. Yet, the origin of the yin-yang blood sea is earth-shattering, even an immortal emperor would be moved by it. The moon gourd yangwil technique, in this realm, was still unable to harness all of the blood energy, nor could it stuff all of the blood energy into the longevity wheel. In an instant, the vital energy, like a heaven-shaking storm, flooded Qiye's physical body and fated palace. This infinite vital energy instantly threatened to destroy his physical body and fated palace. In this extremely perilous moment, the hell-suppressing god-slaying physique, Tran Gukthan that Qiye cultivated finally erupted. A clanking sound rang out, like chains in the netherworld being agitated. Each chain weighed billions of gene. Each chain of the physique technique suppressed. This heaven-shattering blood energy, using an utterly overwhelming stance to suppress this blood energy into Qiye's physical body, compressing it into the hell-suppressing god-slaying physique. Simultaneously, within Qiye's fated palace, the Tao foundation built by the Kunpeng six transformations, Kanbang Lukbian, turned into an enormous Kunpeng, Kanbang. The Kunpeng opened its mouth and swallowed the large amount of vital energy. As it swallowed, it seemed capable of devouring an endless ocean. The Tao foundation, transforming into the Kunpeng, devoured the infinite blood energy, which was then returned to the true fate, Chan Men. Instantly, the true fate within the fated palace shone brightly and magnificently. Under the repeated suppression of the moon gourd yangwil technique, the hell-suppressing god-slaying physique, and the Kunpeng six transformations, the two blood seas finally calmed down within Qiye's longevity wheel. The two blood seas embraced each other, forming a single entity, one yang and one yin, like two yin-yang fish continuously flowing within the blood sea. At this time, the yin-yang blood sea nurtured Qiye's longevity wheel, strengthening his vital energy. The flowing essence blood from the longevity wheel washed over Qiye's entire body's tendons and bones. Every strand of essence blood seeped deep into Qiye's marrow, giving him a feeling of being reborn. Unintentionally, Qiye had stepped into the body tempering stage. By borrowing the yin-yang blood sea, he refined his essence blood to wash over his hell-suppressing god-slaying physique, elevating Qiye's physique to another level. The yin-yang blood sea, like a yin-yang fish, flowed endlessly within the longevity wheel. At this moment, the yin-yang blood sea appeared calm, yet Qiye knew that with his current cultivation, he could not even unleash 1/10,000th of the yin-yang blood sea's vital energy. If he were truly to unleash all the divine might of the yin-yang blood sea, it would absolutely shake the heavens and earth, with blood energy rushing into the 9 heavens, making gods and devils tremble. Hashtag Li Shuangyan's doubts and Mo protectors visit. When Qiye finished his technique, Li Shuangyan was inadvertently standing outside the door. At this moment, Li Shuangyan's pair of beautiful eyes stared intently at Qiye. What demonic technique are you practicing? Li Shuangyan was utterly shocked. She had been sitting in her pavilion when she suddenly detected an immense vital energy surging, only to be suppressed in an instant. Although this fluctuation was only momentary, it did not escape Li Shuangyan's spiritual sense. She knew the surge originated from Qiye. The sudden, shocking fluctuation of blood energy made Li Shuangyan suspect whether Qiye was cultivating some kind of demonic technique. Do I need to practice a demonic technique? Qiye simply smiled at Li Shuangyan's questioning, speaking calmly. Li Shuangyan looked at Qiye suspiciously for a moment, but in the end, she didn't ask anything more, turned around and left. Imparting the Tao, resolving doubts, and practicing the Tao, Qiye's time proceeded systematically. Another month swiftly passed. During this period, Nan Huairen, Nam Hoi Nan, was not seen, and besides him, Mo Protector, Mak Ho Fap, also did not appear. It wasn't strange that Nan Huairen hadn't been seen, as he was on an external mission for the sect, but Qiye was slightly surprised that Mo Protector was accompanying him. Senior brother, your foresight is vast, your understanding is precise, your mastery of the great Tao is exquisite, and you grasp the profound mysteries of saint techniques. Seeing Qiye, Nan Huairen rubbed his hands and said with a beaming smile. Qiye glanced at him and said, since you've decided to work under me, spare me the flattery. If you have something to say it quickly. If you have gas, let it out. Nan Huairen's face flushed, but his demeanor remained natural, truly a man who understood the way of the world. He chuckled and said, your junior brother wishes to invite senior brother to give me some guidance on my cultivation. Qiye looked at Nan Huairen, then glanced at Mo Protector, and said calmly, this must be Mo Protector's idea, right? Exposed by Qiye in a single sentence, Mo Protector's face flushed. He felt a bit awkward, giving a dry laugh and saying, I simply wanted to hear your high opinion. In fact, during the days Qiye lectured, Nan Huairen was on a mission outside. But Mo Protector was in the sect. Mo Protector occasionally listened to Qiye's lectures and was deeply moved. Even a common heart method like the Jade Conch heart method was expounded with a great Tao resonance that even his master couldn't achieve. His occasional listening to Qiye's lecture on the Jade Conch heart method benefited him greatly. Therefore, this stirred Mo Protector's thoughts. He now believed that Qiye possessed peerless comprehension. In terms of lecturing and understanding the great Tao, perhaps no one in the cleansing Jade Valley could compare. He wanted Qiye to guide the disciples of the cleansing Jade Valley, and similarly, to lecture on the profound mysteries of the great Tao for himself. However, he was a protector, and it felt inappropriate to ask Qiye for guidance. Furthermore, he was naturally a man of few words, not skilled in social interaction, and didn't know how to approach Qiye properly. So, when Nan Huairen returned, he ordered Nan Huairen to come and seek instruction. Nan Huairen hurriedly smoothed things over for his master, chuckling, my master said that senior brother's Tao cultivation is profound, so your junior brother shamelessly came to seek guidance. Qiye didn't look at Nan Huairen, he looked at Mo Protector and said indifferently, if we are one family, just speak frankly. He said no more than this, leaving the rest for the master and disciple to contemplate. Mo Protector understood the implied meaning. He and his disciple were the first to pledge allegiance to Qiye. During Yuhi's Uchiha visit, a single word from Qiye elevated their status. Now that Qiye said this again, even if Mo Protector was foolish, he could understand the unstated intent. ###the purple cloud art. The technique you cultivate is the purple cloud art, Tu Hot Song, a remnant technique of an immortal emperor art. Qiye said, looking at Mo Protector and his disciple. That's right, Mo Protector quickly nodded. I have reached the heavenly sovereign, Tianguin, realm today, but cultivating the fated palace primordial spirit is somewhat strenuous. As a protector of the cleansing incense ancient sect, Mo Protector's talent was not the highest among the protectors, but he cultivated arduously without cease, ascending to the heavenly sovereign realm. A remnant technique is, in the end, a remnant technique. Cultivating the fated palace primordial spirit is indeed not so easy. Qiye nodded and said, "The heavenly sovereign realm is a watershed for cultivators. Reaching this realm, sometimes advancing another step is harder than ascending to the heavens. At this level, one must rely not only on comprehension and talent, but also on cultivation techniques, and heavenly flower treasures." Thien Hoa Vat Bao. Qiye said, "The purple cloud art is a remnant branch of the core immortal emperor art, the purple sun 10-day technique, Tu Vinfpak not Song, of the cleansing incense ancient sect. Upon reaching the heavenly sovereign realm, if you cultivate the purple sun 10-day technique, the dragon and tiger will meet, and water and fire will work together, allowing your cultivation to increase. If the sect still had the purple sun 10-day technique, would I be like this?" Mo Protector gave a dry laugh, finally letting out a soft sigh. "Senior brother, you may not know, but I heard from my grandmaster that the purple sun 10-day technique in the sect is severely incomplete, so fragmented that no one dares to cultivate it easily. When my grandmaster reached the heavenly sovereign realm back then, he switched to another great sage Dai Hien technique within the sect for higher cultivation." Nan Huairen quickly added. Hearing this, Qiye fell silent for a moment. The purple sun 10-day technique was an immortal emperor art created by immortal Emperor Min Ren, possessing immense power, yet the cleansing incense ancient sect had lost it. In reality, it was not difficult for Qiye to recall the memories of the purple sun 10-day technique. He didn't even need to look at the incomplete scroll of the purple sun 10-day technique. He could recall its memories just by understanding the purple cloud art. However, for the time being, Qiye had other plans. It was impossible for him to immediately give the complete purple sun 10-day technique to Nan Huairen and his master right now. "The purple sun 10-day technique," Qiye said with a relaxed smile, "I dare to bet that within a year, you two will be able to learn the complete purple sun 10-day technique. As for you two, now." Saying this, Qiye looked at Mo Protector and his disciple, smiling as he said, "The purple cloud art is not without merit. Before this, I observed your Qi aura. Mo Protector's Dao foundation is solid, but junior brother Luo's is a bit shallow. Continue cultivating this technique. Once the technique is stable, then cultivate the purple sun 10-day technique. This will certainly yield twice the result with half the effort." Qiye's words made Nan Huairen and his master uncertain. Qiye spoke with such confidence, but they couldn't understand why he was so certain that they could cultivate the complete purple sun 10-day technique within a year. They had to know that the cleansing incense ancient sect currently had no complete purple sun 10-day technique. If it were anyone else, they would certainly consider this boastful nonsense, merely meant to appease them. However, having witnessed Qiye's eccentricity, Mo Protector and Nan Huairen did not doubt him. What made them uncertain was how Qiye would obtain the complete purple sun 10-day technique. Qiye said to the uncertain Mo Protector and his disciple, "Although Mo Protector has entered a bottleneck in his technique, there is still a method to break through it. When cultivating the purple cloud art, swallow the sun, thaw not, in the early morning and gather the sunset. Glow ***, nap ha, in the evening. Use the essence fire of the rising sun, and the qi of the sunset glow to temper the world's essence qi, and use it to transform longevity blood. This is another shortcut of the purple cloud art, and both of you can practice it." No one was more familiar with the techniques of the cleansing incense ancient sect than he, whether he left them behind or immortal Emperor Min Ren created them. Even if he hadn't fully recovered the memories of the purple cloud art, he knew why the technique was created. "We will give it a try," Mo Protector and his disciple replied, heeding Qiye's suggestion. Indeed, within a few days, although Mo Protector did not come, Nan Huairen excitedly rushed over. He excitedly told Qiye, "Senior brother, this matter is truly too mysterious. I followed your method to practice this technique, and it really yields twice the result with half the effort. Cultivating for 1 day surpasses my usual 5 or 6 days of practice. Senior brother, how did you come up with such a method? You haven't even cultivated the purple cloud art yourself. This result made Nan Huairan feel unbelievable. In fact, his master also found it incredible. This outcome deeply shocked both the master and disciple. With just a few casual pointers from Qiye, they had discovered a path they had never heard of. Just calculating with my fingers, Qiye said with a composed and carefree air. Nan Huairan naturally didn't believe the calculating with my fingers part, that was pure nonsense. Nevertheless, he remained deeply shaken. How could Qiye be so clear about this cultivation method, which even his grandmaster, elder son, Tun Truong Lao, didn't know? But since Qiye wasn't saying, how could Nan Huairan dare to ask? Having spent this amount of time with Qiye, he had slowly begun to gauge his temper. ##### elder son's visit, and the furnace god. Qiye having guided Nan Huairan and his master, unexpectedly, in less than a month, Mo Protector introduced another person to Qiye, who had also come to seek guidance. This person was Mo Protector's master. Elder son, one of the 6 grand elders. Elder son, one of the 6 grand elders of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect, was said to hold high authority within the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect. And his cultivation could be ranked as a hero, How Hung. If a grand elder of the Cleansing Incense Ancient Sect, a big figure of hero strength, were to actually seek guidance from a 3rd-generation disciple in the sect, it would be utterly unbelievable. In fact, elder son's cultivation had indeed run into a minor problem recently. As his disciple, Mo Protector naturally had to worry for his master, so the first person he thought of was Qiye. Of course, elder son's initial reaction to his disciple's idea was that it was too preposterous. If this had been before, elder son would have probably dismissed Mo Protector immediately. However, Mo Protector's status was now different, and as his master, elder son was also more protective of this disciple than before. Mo Protector told elder son about Qiye's guidance on cultivating the purple cloud art. Elder son tried it once and was genuinely surprised by the immediate effect. Finally, under Mo Protector's persistent urging, elder son put aside his pride and came to Lone Peak to let Qiye take a look. Even with a grand elder's presence, Qiye remained calm and composed. Although elder son was more or less displeased in his heart, he could endure it. Since even the successor of the 9 Saint Demon Gate and the princess of the ancient Ox country were obedient to Qiye, it was inappropriate for him, the elder, to act too superior. Qiye inspected elder son's longevity wheel, fated palace, and physique. After a thorough look, he said, Elder's Tao foundation is quite stable. It's just that during the Nirvana Palace, Neetduk, realm, you rushed for success and left a defect in your Tao foundation. Furthermore, switching from the purple cloud art to a great sage technique at the heavenly sovereign realm is not a major issue. Although the connection between the two techniques is not perfectly seamless, it won't be fatal during a longevity decline or life calamity. Qiye's words immediately shocked Elder Sunday. Initially, he hadn't taken Qiye seriously, he was merely grasping at straws. Now, Qiye had summarized his situation in a single sentence. How could this not shock him? The fact that he rushed for success during the Nirvana Palace realm and left a defect was something he had never told anyone else. He didn't expect Qiye to know the truth just by examining his Tao foundation. How sharp must this insight be? Such insight, such knowledge, could not possibly be possessed by a 13 or 14-year-old youth. Even he, as an elder, did not possess such sharp insight. Even if 2 people were both at the hero realm, he wouldn't be able to assess the depths of the opponent's cultivation merely by examining their longevity wheel and fated palace. This kind of insight and knowledge requires the sedimentation of time, and accumulation at an extremely high cultivation realm. Yet, the 13 or 14-year-old youth before him was clearly neither of those. While Elder Son was in shock, Qiye looked at him and said, Elder is a scarlet flame physique, Zichluyan Qi, also known as the scarlet flame snake physique, Zichluyan Xa. The Elder Son wishes to cultivate his scarlet flame physique into the red dragon physique, Zichlong Qi. Hearing Qiye say this, Elder Son couldn't help but flush, giving a dry laugh and saying, I am indeed trying to achieve that. Elder Son possessed an acquired physique, the innate scarlet flame snake physique. However, he wanted to cultivate his physique into the highest tier of that lineage, the red dragon physique. The problem lies with the Elder's furnace god, Lo Than. Qiye said with a composed, knowing look. My furnace god. Hearing Qiye say this, Elder Son immediately shook his head, denying it and saying, that is impossible. My furnace god has been with me for hundreds of years. I obtained this furnace god back when I was in the nourishing body realm, and I've used it until now. It has accompanied me in refining countless pills and nurtured my body for hundreds of years. It has never had any problems. The Elder's physique has abundant fire energy, yet sometimes when absorbing yin qi, the blood flow through the tendons is not smooth. Is that not the case? Qiye said leisurely. If the Elder doesn't believe me, let me assess your furnace god. As soon as Qiye spoke, Elder Son's expression changed. He hadn't mentioned any of his problematic symptoms, yet Qiye immediately exposed them. How could this not shock him? Doubtful and astonished, Elder Son finally took out his furnace god. Elder Son's furnace god was the size of a fist, with 3 snakes entwined, mouths open and tongues flicking, collectively holding a furnace. Asterisk asterisk 3 snake fire furnace asterisk asterisk, tam xa hoa lo. I have seen quite a few of these furnace gods, Qiye said with a smile as he took the furnace god from Elder Son. The furnace god is essential for every alchemist. Even if one isn't an alchemist, most cultivators will find a divine furnace asterisk asterisk, then lo for themselves. The divine furnace, to put it plainly, is a pill refining furnace. However, mortal people use metal and stone to forge their furnaces. The pills of cultivators possess spirituality, so they cannot use metal or stone to forge a furnace. Cultivators who refine pills must use a divine furnace. The divine furnace is, in fact, a naturally formed pill furnace. However, this pill furnace possesses spirituality, and even a life of its own. It is for this reason that a cultivator's pill furnace is called a furnace god. Regarding the true origin of the divine furnace, there are many theories. One theory suggests that in the unfathomably ancient mythological era, the divine furnace was an object used by immortals to fan the flames and refine pills. Of course, this theory is not entirely credible. More people agree with another saying, the divine furnace is formed from metal, stone, and plants nurtured by heaven and earth. Having obtained the essence qi of heaven and earth, it transforms into an essence, then undergoes the tribulation of heaven and earth's lightning, internally holding a fire origin. Finally, it transforms into a treasure furnace, achieving what cultivators call a divine furnace. Therefore, every divine furnace is a treasure furnace encompassed by heaven and earth, internally holding a fire origin. After being nurtured by a cultivator or an alchemist and nourished with spiritual medicines and precious herbs, the divine furnace develops a medicine repository, duok tong, within its body. With the fire origin for refining pills and the medicine repository for nurturing medicines, the alchemist can finally use the divine furnace to refine body pastes, longevity medicines, and fate pills. Qiye carefully examined Elder Son's 3-snake fire furnace. Finally, he placed both hands on the top of the 3-snake fire furnace and shouted, "Open." As soon as he finished speaking, he manifested the 3-snake fire furnace. When the 3-snake fire furnace settled, it was no longer the size of a fist. A colossal treasure furnace appeared in the hall, as large as a tabletop. The top of the treasure furnace was surrounded by spiritual snakes formed from heaven and earth essence Qi. Though not real snakes, they looked incredibly lifelike. The 3 spiritual snakes opened their mouths wide, collectively holding the mouth of the furnace. At this moment, a burst of heat waves poured out from the mouth of the furnace. And the 3 spiritual snakes, with their wide-open mouths, also emitted a faint medicinal aroma. The 3-snake fire furnace was Elder Sun's divine furnace. Elder Sun had used it to refine countless body pastes, longevity medicines and fate pills. The bursts of heat waves pouring out from the furnace's mouth were the fire origin emitted from the divine furnace's body, the key to refining medicinal pills. The medicinal aroma was the medicine repository emitted from the divine furnace's body. The quality of a medicinal pill is, to a large extent, determined by the medicine repository within the divine furnace. Qiye peered inside the furnace, then said, "This furnace of the elders is naturally a blazing fire, Vim Hoa, and this fire is the origin belonging to a common fire origin." Saying this, Qiye's gaze moved as he continued to observe. This divine furnace is often fed earth fire, Jia Hoa, to strengthen its fire origin. And it is often fed spiritual medicines to nurture its medicine repository. Although the elder has fed various spiritual medicines to the divine furnace, in my opinion, the elder has fed it the most. In flame extension grass, am vim dying tau. Am I right? How do you know? As soon as Qiye spoke, Elder Sun's body couldn't help but tremble. Just calculating with my fingers, Qiye said indifferently, continuing to look into the furnace. He then said, "However, it is very clear that Elder Sun has recently been feeding it something other than in flame extension grass. If I'm not mistaken, Elder Sun has recently put fire dragon grass, Hoa Long Tao, into the divine furnace. Am I correct, Elder Sun?" How do you know? Elder Sun was utterly shocked, his speech becoming incoherent. Because he recently wanted his physique to undergo a qualitative leap, laying the foundation for refining the red dragon physique, he paid a high price to purchase fire dragon grass, which he put into the divine furnace to strengthen the medicine repository. Many cultivators, even those who are not alchemists, carry a divine furnace with them. This is because the divine furnace possesses a natural fire origin. After being fed fire seeds, the fire origin continuously grows. At the same time, every divine furnace is fed a large amount of spiritual medicines and medicinal herbs. After the divine furnace is fed and refines the essence of the spiritual medicines and medicinal herbs, that essence is stored within the divine furnace's body, transforming into the medicine repository. A suitable divine furnace is incredibly beneficial to a cultivator. For example, if a divine furnace is born with the fire origin of Great Sun Essence Fire ***, Tai Dung Tin Hoa, a cultivator born with the Lesser Sun physique, Fu Jungda, one of the 24 king physiques, can borrow the divine furnace's Great Sun Essence Fire to temper their physique. Furthermore, the medicine repository within the divine furnace's body can nurture the physique, replenish blood energy, and even heal injuries and diseases. It is precisely because the divine furnace has these various functions that even non-alchemists carry one with them. Regarding Elder Sun, then there's even no need to mention it. He is an alchemist, moreover, he is one of the 2 grand alchemists of the cleansing incense ancient sect. He would even carry a divine furnace with him. For an alchemist, what spirit medicine their divine furnace is being fed, they usually wouldn't easily tell others. However, now Qiye merely took a glance and knew what kind of spirit medicine and elixir grass his divine furnace was being fed. How could this not shock Elder Sun? What kind of understanding of medicinal properties is this? What kind of comprehension of the divine furnace's refinement is this? Qiye did not reply to Elder Sun, he just said, "The problem lies here." Not wrong, if you want to cultivate the Crimson Dragon physique, Fire Dragon grass. does indeed have certain benefits. However, elder son, your divine furnace has always been fed flame extension grass, and you've been feeding it for several hundred years. The medicinal storehouse of your divine furnace has accumulated a large amount of the essence of flame medicinal properties. The essence within the medicinal storehouse is the fire Qi, while fire dragon grass belongs to the fierce yang Qi. Just like that, you suddenly fed it fire dragon grass. The fierce yang Qi of the fire dragon grass directly impacts your divine furnace's medicinal storehouse. If the situation is serious, it will damage your divine furnace, severely affecting the quality of pill refinement later on. More importantly, your physique has always been nourished by this treasured furnace, accustomed to the fire Qi. Now this treasured furnace suddenly emits fierce yang Qi to nourish your physique. This instantly restrains your fire physique, obstructing the blood energy. Qiye spoke continuously, with flawless familiarity, just like a grandmaster in this field. This not only left Protector Mo wide-eyed and speechless but also elder son as well. Finally, Qiye calmly and leisurely said, "Elder son, you are considered one of the two grand alchemists of the cleansing incense ancient sect. You should understand that an alchemist must not only focus on their own alchemy capabilities, but also fully protect their divine furnace. The divine furnace's innate fire source, and the acquired fire seed it is fed. These are all profound academic disciplines. Furthermore, once a divine furnace forms a medicinal storehouse, the spirit medicine and elixir grass fed later on have a very important relationship with the medicinal properties of the medicinal storehouse. Whether refining a life pill or stewing a physique paste, a good life pill and good physique medicine are not only determined by the alchemist's capability but also by the quality of a treasured furnace. Equally important is whether the attributes of the fire source, the essence of the medicinal storehouse, and the life pill/physique medicine materials clash." Qiye said calmly. The pairing of medicinal materials and the divine furnace is a profound discipline. This requires long-term accumulation. Only by treating one's divine furnace as a second life is one a qualified alchemist. Qiye's explanation on the divine furnace left elder son utterly speechless. At this moment, the disciple before his eyes did not resemble a 13 or 14-year-old newly initiated youth at all. Instead, he seemed like an alchemy grandmaster, speaking continuously about the academics of the divine furnace, completely unlike someone who spoke arrogant words. Then what should be done? Without realizing it, elder son was completely convinced by Qiye. Unconsciously, he, as an elder, couldn't help but ask Qiye for advice. Qiye smiled and said, "Elder son's problem is not serious, in fact, it's very easy to solve. Elder son should stop feeding it fire dragon grass. If elder son is truly set on cultivating the crimson dragon physique, I suggest elder son use river shift firewood for himself. The medicinal properties of river shift firewood are very close to flame extension grass, and moreover, its medicinal properties are one grade higher. More importantly, river shift firewood is more compatible with the crimson dragon physique." In the end, elder son adopted Qiye's suggestion, stopped feeding it fire dragon grass, and purchased river shift firewood at a high price. Indeed, a month later, elder son excitedly rushed to Solitary Peak. At this moment, he had forgotten his identity as an elder, and like a young boy, he said excitedly and happily, "It's done, it's truly done. Now the blood energy is flowing smoothly. And the medicinal properties of the medicine god are also stronger." Towards such a result, Qiye only smiled. Medicinal properties, divine furnace, alchemy. In these aspects, if he claimed second, he feared that no one throughout the ages would dare to claim first. Qiye's composure made elder son deeply moved. If it were other disciples who received such praise from an elder, they would definitely be overjoyed. However, to Qiye, such praise was merely a daily routine. When you were inducted into the cleansing incense ancient sect, have you ever cultivated the path of alchemy? At this moment, Elder Sun couldn't help but be moved, developing a desire for a talented resource. At this time, he thought of the Grand Elder. In recent years, the disheartened Grand Elder suddenly became full of ambition, supporting Qiye. It seemed that Qiye was indeed worth cultivating. Before, they had underestimated Qiye. Perhaps. For this disciple, mortal physique, mortal wheel, and mortal fate were fundamentally nothing. Qiye just smiled and said, I occasionally read some texts, that's all. It's not enough to form a path. This is not enough to form a path. Elder Sun was instantly speechless, his forehead furrowed with a dark line. Qiye's understanding of medicinal properties, and his explanation of the divine furnace could be said to have reached the pinnacle. Even he felt ashamed. Elder Sun couldn't help but say, if you encounter difficulties in cultivating the path, you can also consider cultivating the path of alchemy. With your understanding of medicinal properties, I highly regard you. You might become the second medicine god. Elder Sun highly valued Qiye. In his opinion, even if Qiye was a waste in cultivation, once he was willing to step into the path of alchemy, he would definitely be an alchemy genius. Medicine god. A familiar name was mentioned again by someone, and Qiye couldn't help but reveal a smile. Elder Sun was afraid Qiye didn't know who Medicine God was and quickly added, Medicine God can be called the ancestor of our alchemists. It can be said that most of the rules of pill refinement were established by him. It is even rumored that the term divine furnace was also established by him. In the Savage Era, it was from him that a complete system in pill refinement was achieved. His contribution to the path of alchemy is unmatched by anyone. It can even be said that he is one of the highest achievers in the path of alchemy throughout the ages. When Elder Sun spoke of the medicine god, Qiye couldn't help but reveal a smile. Medicine god, oh, he couldn't be more familiar with him. That was a very good memory of his. That old brat was indeed an alchemy genius. This point, no matter how much time passed, Qiye, as the Dark Crow, had to admit it. Qiye couldn't help but chuckle. Elder Sun mentioning the medicine god made him recall some years in the Savage Era. That was a period of time worth remembering. In that era, he had once led that old brat to penetrate the 9 worlds, passing through various burial grounds and immortal earths. In that period, they had made countless attempts for refining essential elixirs. They had once created countless pill refinement techniques. They had once created many strange elixir formulas. They had once grown many soul grasses that others dared not even imagine. That was a period of time full of excitement. In those years there was more innovation, more experimentation, and more continuous exploration. In that period he, as the Dark Crow, had calculated heaven and earth countless times, had ambushed giants countless times, and had bathed the 9 heavens and 10 lands in blood countless times. However, not many years could make him as nostalgic as those years. In those years, there was more thirst for knowledge, and the time for bloody conquest was much less. Throughout the ages, regardless of whether they were alchemists or cultivators, they all believed that the medicine god represented the ultimate peak of the path of alchemy. This was not only because his achievements in alchemy were hard to match, but more importantly, he established a complete system of the path of alchemy. He laid an immortal foundation for the path of alchemy. In fact, throughout the ages, no one knew that the foundation of the path of alchemy was not laid by the medicine god alone. The system of the path of alchemy was not established by the medicine god alone. In this, there was a Dark Crow unknown to the world, who innovated in the path of alchemy and established the system of the path of alchemy. That unknown Dark Crow had an immense contribution. It could be said that without this dark crow, there would be no medicine god. Of course, this secret was unknown to later generations. Thinking of those years, Qiye couldn't help but sigh softly in his heart. If there was any regret, the biggest regret was that he lost the memory of the most precious medicinal canon in the world. Since that part of the memory was erased, he never found it back. The reason was very simple: he never saw that medicinal canon again afterward. Even a remnant volume he didn't see. Thinking of this, Qiye couldn't help but shake his head secretly. That old lunatic back then was truly insane. After achieving the title of medicine god, Qiye had reminded him to find disciples and pass down his inheritance. Unexpectedly, the old lunatic went crazy. Although he passed down quite a few precious elixir formulas and medicinal canons to later generations, he omitted that coveted medicinal canon. Qiye knew that this old lunatic must have done it on purpose. He deliberately chose not to pass down this medicinal canon. When Qiye was reminiscing about the past, his days made elder son mistakenly think that Qiye was yearning for the medicine god. He thought Qiye had been persuaded by him. How about switching to cultivating the path of alchemy? If you are willing to switch to the path of alchemy, I will pass on all my lifelong learning to you. In the future, you should become the strongest alchemist of our sect. After that, ascending to the position of elder or even sect master would be as easy as turning your hand over. Elder son couldn't help but try to persuade Qiye because he saw Qiye's potential. If it were any other disciple, upon hearing an elder taking them as a disciple, they would be extremely excited, wishing they could immediately kowtow and acknowledge him as master. However, Qiye's reaction was calm as usual. Qiye smiled and said, "Thank you, elder, for your high regard. The path of alchemy is merely a pastime for me when I'm interested." Qiye's words instantly left elder son speechless, his head throbbing with a dark line. If it were anyone else, they would definitely think Qiye was speaking arrogant words. But at this moment, elder son didn't have such a thought. Elder son was frantic in his heart because Qiye was wasting his talent. Elder son was truly frantic. He even wanted to fly into a rage, but he still held back. Finally, he said with utmost gentleness, "You should think about it carefully. If you figure it out one day, you can come and find me anytime." Towards elder son's good intentions, Qiye ultimately just smiled. Seeing Qiye's attitude, elder son could only sigh and leave. In fact, elder son didn't give up. Not a few days later, Protector Mo also appeared at Solitary Peak. After Protector Mo arrived, he saw Qiye, and his speech was stuttering, wanting to speak but stopping, talking for a long time, yet nothing came out. "Elder son wants you to come and persuade me to cultivate the path of alchemy, right?" Towards Protector Mo's hesitation, Qiye was already anticipating it and smiled, saying. Protector Mo was a little embarrassed, let out a dry cough, and could only say, "My master has this intention, but whether you cultivate it or not is still up to you. No one dares to force you." In fact, Protector Mo was very clear in his heart that Qiye was definitely a person with a lot of his own ideas. He was just unable to refuse his master's request. "The path of alchemy is merely a distraction. I will consider it when I have time." Qiye smiled and said. Towards such a result, Protector Mo had already prepared himself mentally. Therefore, he didn't try to persuade Qiye, and left to reply to his master. In the blink of an eye, 3 months flew by. The cultivation of the 300 disciples of Stone Cleansing Valley no longer required Qiye's excessive attention. Qiye's cultivation had also reached the body-tempering grand completion level of the nurtured physique realm. Having reached this grand completion level, Qiye charged into the third level of the nurtured physique realm. Baptism. This baptism is extremely important to a cultivator, especially for those genius disciples with innate physiques and royal physiques. This level is even more critical, because this level is the first opportunity for all cultivators to forge physique. This baptism not only relies on cultivation but more importantly, requires physique paste to properly forge one's physique. Of course, for cultivators in principle, the higher the grade of the physique paste, the better it is for physique forging. However, there are many restrictions in the cultivation process. For example, for an innate physique, the first time they forge physique, selecting an innate physique paste is the best. 1. It's easy to absorb the essence of the physique paste. 2. Because it's the first physique forging, a physique paste of the same grade is more suitable for their physique. In fact, in the cleansing incense ancient sect, upon reaching this realm, the vast majority of disciples don't have a choice for their first physique forging. They can only choose acquired physique paste. The reason is very simple, because everyone has no other choice. The cleansing incense ancient sect has declined, and there are great restrictions on financial resources. Disciples who can enjoy an innate physique paste are likely only the direct disciples of the elders. Qiye calculated the time. The time for him to use physique paste to forge physique was not much left. Therefore, he went to find the Grand Elder. In fact, Qiye could have used physique paste to forge physique long ago. He only delayed the time for physique forging to stabilize the yin and yang blood energy within his longevity wheel. Upon meeting the Grand Elder, upon hearing Qiye's intention, the Grand Elder was both surprised and shocked. He looked at Qiye and said, "You have already reached the baptism level of the nurtured physique realm." Counting on his fingers, Qiye had been inducted into the cleansing incense ancient sect and started cultivating for less than a year, yet he had already reached the baptism level of the nurtured physique realm. Such an achievement, placed in any sect, would be that of a genius. One must know that Qiye was a mortal physique, mortal wheel, and mortal fate. This was impossible. Therefore, when the Grand Elder reacted, he looked at Qiye and said, "You are cultivating the moon passage yang will technique." With Qiye's aptitude, if he could reach this realm within a year, the only explanation was that Qiye cultivated the moon passage yang will technique. That's right. This matter was no longer a secret in the cleansing incense ancient sect. Qiye had nothing to hide, and just said calmly. The Grand Elder heard this and fell silent for a moment. If it were other disciples, he would definitely advise them not to cultivate that technique. However, did Qiye have a choice? Mortal physique, mortal wheel, and mortal fate. With such aptitude, no matter what technique he chose, the final result would probably not be much different. Finally, the Grand Elder said, "The medicinal materials for one portion of royal physique paste have been prepared by the sect. However, you must be mentally prepared. In this portion of physique paste's medicinal materials, apart from the main ingredient, the other medicinal materials have a medicinal spirit of 100,000 years, with the best being 110 or 120,000 years. However, the main ingredient, the hell iron ox beast marrow, is slightly lacking. It is still somewhat short of 100,000 years of medicinal spirit. Therefore, regarding the medicinal properties of this portion of physique paste, you must be mentally prepared." Speaking of this, the Grand Elder added a sentence, saying, "For this portion of physique paste, the sect has done its utmost. I hope you will not disappoint the sect." In fact, in this matter of the physique paste, to be more precise, the Grand Elder had exerted himself. For this portion of Qiye's physique paste, he had gone all out and paid a heavy price. To allow Qiye to win over Li Xuangan, he could be said to have spared no expense. On this point, Elder can rest assured. Qiye smiled. In fact, Qiye was also mentally prepared. Today, the cleansing incense ancient sect was in decline, and being able to gather the medicinal materials for a portion of royal physique paste was already incredibly difficult. The Grand Elder pondered for a moment, then said, "There is another matter that is relatively difficult to resolve. And that is the matter of the alchemist. In our cleansing incense ancient sect, the two people with the highest achievement in the path of alchemy are Elder Chao and Elder Sun, respectively." Speaking of this, the Grand Elder looked at Qiye and said, "In terms of alchemy capability, Elder Chao is slightly stronger than Elder Sunday. Elder Sun refining physique paste up to 6 refinements is not a problem. 7 refinements, he might be somewhat incapable. Elder Chao refining 7 refinements is not a big issue. Elder Chao may not be willing to refine the physique paste. For me." Qiye smiled, his heart certain. The Grand Elder didn't want to talk much about this issue, he just said, "Regarding the matter of refining the physique paste, Elder Sun is very willing to refine it for you. It's just that he can't guarantee the medicinal properties. Elder doesn't need to worry about this matter of refining the physique paste. How about this, Elder prepares the medicinal materials, and I will handle the arrangement for refining the physique paste." Qiye had anticipated it. Chao Xiong not being willing to refine the physique paste for him was within his expectation. However, he also didn't need to beg Chao Xiong. That's fine too. The Grand Elder saw Qiye's confidence and could only nod his head, saying, "I will have the storage disciple prepare the medicinal materials for you. Whenever you plan to refine it, just let me know, and I will have the disciple deliver the medicinal materials to you." Qiye thanked the Grand Elder and returned to Solitary Peak. "Senior brother, bad news, bad news." Qiye hadn't returned to Solitary Peak yet when Nan Huiran, with a bad look on his face, rushed over, saying anxiously. Accompanying Nan Huiran were a few people from Stone Cleansing Valley, including Su Pei, and their faces were very ugly. "Did the sky collapse?" Qiye looked at Nan Huiran and said. Nan Huiran quickly said, "Senior brother, the sky didn't collapse, but your courtyard has been vandalized." "Vandalized my courtyard?" Hearing this, Qiye's eyes narrowed slightly. And he said with a beaming smile, "Who is so interested in destroying my courtyard like this?" Qiye suddenly narrowed his eyes, causing Nan Huiran and even the few people like Su Pei to feel a sudden jolt in their hearts. That beaming smile on Qiye's face, in their eyes, was even more chilling than a devil's smile. It's senior brother He Ingjian," Su Pei whispered to Qiye. "Senior brother, I heard that senior brother he is pursuing, courting Fairy Li." A disciple boldly said softly. Although the disciples of Stone Cleansing Valley all came from Stone Cleansing Peak, currently, all 300 disciples of Stone Cleansing Valley stood on Qiye's side, fighting on the same front as Qiye. I also heard that senior brother he once presented treasures to Fairy Li. Senior brother he is a genius of our cleansing incense ancient sect. He is your formidable love rival." A disciple couldn't help but say worriedly. For a time, these few disciples were talking over each other. At this moment, those disciples shared a common enemy with Qiye. However, they couldn't help but worry for Qiye. After all, He Ingjian was a genius of the cleansing incense ancient sect, and a direct disciple of Elder Chao. It could be said that He Ingjian had good looks, talent, backing, and lineage. Although the disciples of Stone Cleansing Valley emotionally hoped that Qiye could win over Li Xuangan, after all, these days Qiye and Li Xuangan were inseparable, and they were happy to see the match made. However, with a powerful love rival like He Ingjian, the disciples like Su Pei couldn't help but worry for Qiye. Formidable love rival. Hearing such a sentence, Qiye found it funny, and the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch, a smile rippling across his face. Nan Huiran reminded him, saying, "Senior brother, on this matter, He Ingjian has Elder Chao's tacit approval and even strong support. An open spear is easy to dodge, but a hidden arrow is hard to guard against. Senior brother should still be careful. Nan Huairan also knew Li Qiye's background. Formidable love rival. Nan Huairan naturally wouldn't think he Yingjian was qualified to be Li Qiye's formidable love rival. What was he Yingjian? Li Qiye dared to challenge even the 9 Saint Demon Gate, let alone just he Yingjian. Why did Li Xuangan come to the cleansing incense ancient sect? It was simply because of Li Qiye. No matter how outstanding he Yingjian was, he probably couldn't compare with Li Qiye. The two were fundamentally not on the same level. What qualification did he Yingjian have to be Li Qiye's love rival? Let's go and see how my most formidable love rival is destroying my courtyard. Li Qiye said leisurely and comfortably, as if it wasn't his courtyard that was being destroyed. When Li Qiye led Nan Huairan up solitary peak, a series of rumbling sounds echoed. They saw he Yingjian at this moment commanding several disciples to destroy Li Qiye's courtyard. By now the courtyard was about 7 or 8 parts destroyed. And beside the towering pavilion, Li Xuangan merely looked on indifferently, saying nothing. Li Qiye, you came at just the right time. Seeing Li Qiye return with a group of people, including Nan Huairan, he Yingjian said smugly. From today onwards you will live on Small Spring Peak. He Yingjian spoke to Li Qiye in a commanding tone, as if Li Qiye had no choice but to listen to him. Why should I live on Small Spring Peak? Li Qiye looked at the destroyed courtyard, still maintaining a genuine smile, seemingly not angry at all. He Yingjian was slightly impatient and said coldly, I told you to go, so go. Why so much nonsense? From today onwards I will live on Solitary Peak. This broken courtyard remaining here is an eyesore. After it's completely destroyed, I will build a divine pavilion here. Speaking of this, he Yingjian ignored Li Qiye, put on a smile that he thought was the most suave, and chuckled from afar towards Li Xuangan. Solitary Peak overlooks the entire cleansing incense ancient sect. The scenery is very good. Fairy Li choosing to reside here can be said to be uniquely insightful. I am fortunate to live close to Fairy Li, where we can discuss the Tao and explore profound mysteries. This is a fine tale. After Li Xuangan entered the cleansing incense ancient sect, it wasn't the first time he Yingjian pursued her. However, each time he was rejected. Li Xuangan simply didn't bother to pay attention to him. With his pursuit blocked, he Yingjian simply decided to live on Solitary Peak. Wanting to be adjacent to Li Xuangan on the peak, using the opportunity to get closer to her. As the saying goes, proximity fosters intimacy. He Yingjian's public declaration made Nan Huairan and the others uncomfortable. The fact that Fairy Li and senior brother had a marriage agreement was known throughout the cleansing incense ancient sect. Now he Yingjian was openly pursuing Li Xuangan. Right in front of Li Qiye, completely disregarding Li Qiye. As for Li Xuangan, she looked at he Yingjian as if he were an idiot. This kind of person truly didn't know how he was going to die. With his level of strength, he dared to touch the tiger's whiskers and provoke Li Qiye. This was simply courting death. When Li Qiye was at the 9 Saint Demon Gate, even her master, the Wheel Sun Demon Emperor, was wary of him. What was a mere he Yingjian? He Yingjian showing off in front of him made Li Qiye chuckle. He naturally knew about he Yingjian pursuing Li Xuangan. Li Qiye had absolute confidence in the woman by his side. He didn't bother to pay attention to such trivial matters. Now he Yingjian actually brought the trouble to his doorstep. He couldn't help but smile, glanced pitifully at he Yingjian, and then said to Li Xuangan, You watched as the courtyard was destroyed here. Isn't this an internal matter of your cleansing incense ancient sect? Li Xuangan actually gave a faint smile, a smile that could topple nations. Li Shuangyan's mere faint smile instantly made He Yingjian's soul wander. When he came back to his senses, his heart was immediately filled with jealousy. He had tried to approach Li Shuangyan many times, but she had never shown any warmth, let alone smiled. This instantly made him hostile towards Li. Qiye. What are you barking about here? Hurry up and leave. Is Solitary Peak a place for you to linger? From now on, Solitary Peak is where I cultivate my mind. If you dare to trespass here, you will be dealt with according to the sect rules. At this moment, He Yingjian's face turned cold and he shouted. He Yingjian's behavior didn't anger Li Qiye, but Nan Huairan and the others were already seething with indignation. Especially Nan Huairan. At that time, Solitary Peak was allocated to Li Qiye by the elders. Now He Yingjian was forcibly occupying Li Qiye's peak, destroying Li Qiye's dwelling, and even threatening him with sect rules. This was too arrogant and excessively bullying. Solitary Peak was allocated to senior brother by the elders. Nan Huairan said indignantly for Li Qiye. Hearing Nan Huairan's words, He Yingjian gave him a cold look and said in a cold voice. Now I am taking back Solitary Peak. Do you have any objections? Speaking of this, He Yingjian paused and said. Nan Huairan, you are considered a smart person in the sect. Don't spend all day associating with a useless person. This is self-destructing your future. Following a useless person, you will only make no progress in the cleansing incense ancient sect. He Yingjian's words were not just simply mocking Nan Huairan. They were even a threat. Nan Huairan was shrewd and clever. How could he not understand the implication of his words? Nan Huairan had his own ideas about whom to follow. Towards He Yingjian's words, Nan Huairan showed his stance without hesitation, and said in a deep voice. This is not for senior brother to worry about. Senior brother is a talent of the cleansing incense ancient sect. I will follow his every command. Self-degradation. Nan Huairan directly rejected his attempt to test him, and He Yingjian coldly snorted. Li Qiye didn't care about this kind of internal strife. He just looked at He Yingjian and said. For the sake of being fellow disciples, I will give you a chance. Rebuild the destroyed courtyard properly, otherwise, tomorrow you won't even be able to stand up. Li Qiye's words immediately made He Yingjian's eyes turn cold, murderous intent surging. He sneered and said. A fool who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Do you really think you are the senior brother of the cleansing incense ancient sect? You dare to speak to me like that? Humph, just relying on you and this group of trash before my eyes. You dare to speak arrogant words. A bunch of small fries, are you even qualified to oppose me? After speaking, he looked coldly at Li Qiye, and the group of people including Nan Huairan. He Yingjian's words immediately infuriated Su Pei and the others. He Yingjian's words were not only an insult to Li Qiye, but also an insult to them. Seeing He Yingjian's lack of measure, Li Qiye didn't bother to pay attention to him, and turned to leave. What's wrong? Just now you weren't speaking arrogant words, saying you would make me unable to stand up tomorrow. Why are you running away now? Defeated without a fight, a useless person like you dares to jump around in front of me. Seeing Li Qiye turn to leave, He Yingjian sneered and said. Throw him down the mountain, beat him until even his parents don't recognize him. If he doesn't rebuild the courtyard for me, cut off his third leg. Li Qiye fundamentally didn't waste any more breath on He Yingjian. He just walked up to Li Shuangyan's towering pavilion, and instructed Li Shuangyan, saying. Ha ha, ah ha. Li Qiye's sudden instruction to Li Shuangyan made He Yingjian seem as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. He laughed until he bent over, pointing at Li Qiye, almost shedding tears, and laughed loudly. Who do you think you are? Do you think you are a demon emperor? Or a human emperor? With a useless person like you, you dare to boss Fairy Li around. Fairy Li, this kind of fool, I'll punish him for you. However, He Yingjian hadn't finished speaking when Li Xuangan stood up, looking at him like an idiot, and said coldly, I'll give you a chance to strike. Instantly, He Yingjian's smile froze there. That expression was even more exaggerated than eating a pile of feces. His whole body stiffened, unable to make any other expression. With a bang, before He Yingjian could recover, he was struck by Li Xuangan and sent flying off Solitary Peak. Then, a burst of tragic screams echoed from below Solitary Peak. Undoubtedly, Li Xuangan had struck quite heavily. At this moment, the other disciples who were destroying the courtyard all froze there. Li Xuanyan's strike to teach He Yingjian a lesson instantly sent He Yingjian screaming tragically. This scene terrified those disciples. Even the stone cleansing valley disciples like Su Pei looked at each other in dismay. Although Li Xuangan had been accompanying Li Qiye these days, they rarely talked to each other. In their opinion, Li Xuangan's staying was likely due to the betrothal agreement between the two sects, staying to spend time with the senior brother. However, they never expected that the heavenly proud daughter, Fairy Li, the princess of the ancient ox-strong nation, who was above tens of thousands of people, would actually listen to their senior brother. Such a matter would be hard for anyone to believe if it were spread. What was the Nine Saint Demon Gate, and what was the Cleansing Incense ancient sect now? Li Xuanyan's status was now unimaginably high. Even the elders of the Cleansing Incense ancient sect were not qualified to compare with her. Such a high and mighty figure actually listened to their senior brother. This was too unbelievable. When Li Xuangan was teaching He Yingjian a lesson, Nan Huairan, like Li Qiye's most loyal hunting dog, sneered and looked at the few disciples who were destroying the courtyard, saying, Why aren't you rolling away quickly? Do you want to wait for us to clean up after you? Humph, you are all disciples of the Cleansing Incense ancient sect. Don't go too far. Do you think you can be lawless just because you cling to Elder Chao's thigh? Is senior brother's divine might something you can provoke? Humph, with your limited vision, even a demon emperor would be an honored guest of senior brother. Don't think that just because you found a backer you can provoke senior brother. Senior brother is benevolent and won't hold it against you. Otherwise, whatever backer you bring will only lead to a dead end. Nan Huairan was not just shrewd and clever. He was also very clear about how to speak certain words and how to do certain things. His words this time seemed like he was borrowing the tiger's might, but he was speaking not only to the disciples destroying the courtyard but also to the people like Su Pei present. This was a reminder for them. Those disciples who were destroying the courtyard came back to their senses. Startled, they didn't dare to say anything more, dropped the tools in their hands, and ran away. At this moment, their master had been beaten, and was screaming like a slaughtered pig. Even if they were given 10 more guts, they wouldn't dare to provoke Li Qiye. Just as Su Pei and the others were stunned, Li Xuangan had already flown back to the front of the towering pavilion. Her strike to fiercely teach He Yingjian a lesson was merely a casual move for someone of her realm. Even if He Yingjian was called a genius of the Cleansing Incense ancient sect compared to a heavenly proud daughter like Li Xuangan, he was not even worthy of being mentioned. If there are no sect missions, remember your duty. Anyone who blocks my path, no matter who they are, shall be killed without mercy. After Li Xuangan returned, Li Qiye glanced at her and said. Li Qiye's words left Su Pei and the others bewildered, while Nan Huairan's heart trembled. Su Pei and the others didn't know the underlying reason, but Nan Huairan did. Because Li Qiye had said that Li Xuangan was his maid. Li Qiye's instruction to Li Xuangan like this instantly made him understand. How could such a matter not shock Nan Huairan? What kind of person was Li Xuangan? The princess of the ancient ox-strong nation, the successor of the 9 Saint Demon Gate. Yet today she was merely serving as the senior brother's maid. Just as Su Pei and the others were still confused, Li Qiye had already turned and entered Li Shuangyan's pavilion. Li Qiye's voice drifted out from inside. He was always so calm and composed. This time you were negligent. I will temporarily stay in your boudoir. You will stay in the side room to guard the Dao for me. Li Qiye's words made Li Shuangyan both angry and annoyed. She finally just stomped her foot, and then went inside, saying nothing. This scene instantly petrified Su Pei and the others. This scene was too overbearing, wasn't it? This was probably the most imposing scene they had ever witnessed. Li Shuangyan, in their minds, was a high and mighty existence, a goddess of her generation, the successor of the 9 Saint Demon Gate, the princess of the ancient Ox-Strong nation, whose master was the Wheel Sun Demon Emperor, and she was also born with a royal physique and Saint Fate. Thank you for listening to the story on KTN Storyverse. Please like, share, and subscribe to enjoy more amazing stories.